Google Docs number 6 is about creating documents that have columns. Sometimes you run into situations where you have to do that, so we're going to tackle it here. On Google Classroom, I've got set up here an assignment for Monday, and there are two things there. There's a link to the dummy text generator, which you'll need that again, because unless you want to fill a whole page with text yourself, this is just going to look better and work better if we have a page that's filled with text. And then I do have a help page linked up as well that leads you through the assignment. The help page looks like this. You'll have to produce 3 different documents. All of them start with a blank Google Doc. On the first one, we'll work on getting 500 words of text from the random text generator. And then on the first one, it's going to be very simple. We're just going to make it a document that has 2 columns. On the second one, we're going to do something a little bit different. I'm not going to go into all the detail right now, but I'll show you. I think that will be helpful. And then on the third one, there's going to be some columns on that one as well, but it's going to be different than the other 2. So there are 3 different column setups that I want you to create and build, and then you turn them in when you're all done. So let's take a run through on how, and this will help you when you go to do the assignment as well. So I'll hop back over here, and I usually make a new Google Doc for my Google Drive, but you do that however you want to. I'm going to click the New button and go to Google Docs and just make a blank document. Next step, I need text on that document, and so that's where I'm going to go back over to Google Classroom and use the link here for the dummy text generator. That will hop off to the website. You could use the lorem ipsum words right here. That's totally fine. Or you could use English words. It doesn't matter. 500 words should do the job. I'm going to go with 500 words. And let's just keep the number of paragraphs on 3. Leave that there. So we've got, I'm going to use lorem ipsum, but if you want to use English, that's fine. 500 words, 3 paragraphs. Let's generate that text. In the result window, I get all of this text, so I'm going to take all of that and select it. I'm going to copy it. I'm using Control-C on my keyboard. I'll get back over to my document. I'll go ahead and paste that. I'm going to click up here in the top left now. Could have done this sooner, but I'm going to call this columns number 1. And I didn't really spell that correctly. I'm going to try to be a little bit better about that. All right, columns number 1. Now, the text did not fill the entire page, and that's not really super critical. It doesn't have to fill the entire page, but if I set it at 12 points, it's going to come pretty close, and that's fine with me. Now, on this first one, this is really simple. You have to have all the text selected, so if somehow that text gets unselected, you have to reselect it. Go to the Format menu, go to Columns, and all we're going to do on this page is make it a 2-column document. So there's a button there that shows 2 columns. I'll go ahead and click that, and that's it. Now what the reader would do, of course, is they would read down column 1 and then come over and read down column 2. And, a lot of books are set up this way. A lot of magazines are set up this way. You could run into certain situations where you want to set it up with columns instead of normal text. All right, so columns 1 is finished. So let's go ahead. I'm going to go, and again, now you need another new document, which if you have a favorite way of doing that, then do it. I'm just going to go to File, I'm going to go to New, I'm going to go to Document, and that will take care of it. Before I get started here, I'm going to come up here to the top left. I'm going to change the name of this to Columns 2, and I'll know what I'm turning in when I go to turn it in that way. I don't really have to go back to my brain's floating around. I don't really have to go back to the dummy text generator and copy again. All I really have to do is just paste it again. All right, so we're going to go ahead and make that fill the page. I found out that setting it at about 12 comes pretty close. Maybe we ought to peek real quick and just make sure that we're on target here. This is what are we doing here? This time we're going to leave the first paragraph alone. We're not going to do anything to the first paragraph. Then we're going to take the second paragraph and turn it into a 3-column section. Well, let's see what that looks like here. All right, so this first paragraph right up here, remember that if you think back to our dummy text generator, what we did was 3 paragraphs of text. Okay. Well, so the first paragraph, I'm just going to leave it alone, not going to do anything to it. On the second paragraph, I'm going to select that, and I'll go to Format, and I'll go to Columns, and I'm going to make that section of the document be 3 columns. So I'm going to click the button for 3 columns and do that. And then that leaves the last paragraph as just normal text. And it's running down to the second page, and that's fine. That doesn't matter. We don't care. And this happens sometimes when in books, or especially in magazines, where you'll have some normal text that you're reading along, and then really in most cases, and I might even separate this with an enter down there on the third paragraph. Normally what would happen is, you would read to here and then jump down and keep reading down here, because this would be kind of a special segment or a special topic that's inserted into the middle of the story or the middle of the article. Might even have a picture with it sometimes. So a lot of times magazines and books will do this, where you have normal text for a little while, and then you have some column text, and then you go back to normal text. And that's what we're doing on this Columns 2 document. Okay. So that one is done. It's called Columns 2. I've set it up the way it's supposed to be set up. So let's go ahead and click File, and New, and Document. And I'm going to go ahead and rename this one, top left-hand side. I'm going to call it Columns 3. And again, misspelled it, so I'm going to try to do better about that. Columns number 3. I'll go ahead and paste in my text, and I'll go ahead and make it, well, I got to get it all selected, and I'll make it size 12 to pretty much fill the page. You could change the font if you wanted to, but I'm not going to change the font. That's up to you. So on this one, what we're going to do, we're going to change the orientation. We're going to make the orientation landscape, and we're going to make it 3 columns, but we also want a line between the columns, and we're going to justify the text. So those are all things you got to know where to find all that, right? Now we know where to find orientation. If you go to the File menu and we go to Page Setup, we've done this in a previous assignment. I'll just make the orientation landscape, so that takes care of that. Click OK there. Now I want that to be 3 columns, but it also has to have a line between the columns. Make sure you get all these little details, because these are points. So I'll go to Format, and I'll go to Columns, and I can get 3 columns, but I don't see anything there that's going to help me with the line between thing, unless I go here to More Options, and that's what you want to do. You want to go to More Options. For the number of columns, I'll set it to 3. For the line between columns, I'll just hit that check mark right there, and then I'm going to apply that. Got it. Again, it's spreading out onto 2 pages, but we really don't care about that. That's totally fine. I'm not concerned about that at all. The last detail on this third document is to make the text justified, what's called justified. Well, that's an alignment thing. Right now it's aligned left, and here's center, and here's right, and here is justify. So the difference is this. When you click the Justify button, you get a nice straight margin on both the left and the right-hand side of the column. And again, I'm sure you've seen this before in books, in magazines, where the text is nice and straight on both the left and the right margin. And so that's what I've got going on right here. Now again, compare that. If I put it back on left align, the margin is nice and straight on the left-hand edge, but it's all jagged on the right-hand edge of each column. I want to justify that. I want to make them both straight. All right. It kind of messes with the spacing of the text a little bit, but we can live with that. So this is what we want. In this one, it's a landscape document. It has 3 columns. There's a line between the columns, and the text is justified. All right. So now let's just review. Columns 1 was just a page of text that has 2 columns. On Columns 2, we had a normal paragraph, and then we had a paragraph that we split into 3 columns, and then we're back to a normal paragraph down here. On Columns number 3, it's a landscape-oriented document, 3 columns, line between, justified text. Got it. So there they are, 1, 2, and 3, and now it's time for you to give it a try. Off you go.